Just this is
Everybody's here. All right, we have the minutes of, good morning, everyone. And I'm done. Minutes of February 14th.
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think we've done the chart review, I guess. Some changes or something.
I think this committee did the charter review for all of them, and then they were to go back to each committee to approve. So in essence,
Okay.
by this committee passing it on to the other committees, you did approve it, but if you could vote to ratify it today. that would-
Okay. Any changes, comments on the charter?
motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Andy, for getting it all together. Committee appointments, new members.
I believe the issue here is that we have, as we get new members of the board, they have not been assigned to committees.
Mike hasn't been. So typically we ask them, right, if there's a preference and try to look out for their need, but
Yeah, I thought we wanted to be on workforce, and then workforce has changed so much. that,
And I think that, you know, as we, perhaps we can look at it at the, in advance of the board meeting. But we do have 2 resignations.
we do. One we're filling
Right.
here today, hopefully, we're
Right.
going to try. And then Kenny Leggett is also resigned.
Was that immediate or is he?
Yeah, he's got his hands full. His
Okay.
girlfriend, been with her for 18 years, I guess, is not well.
Okay,
So
well, sorry to lose him.
And who is the other?
Anand Bawazar has resigned. Because his work has changed and he just can't make the meetings.
he's very active in the fire department.
Rescue squad.
Yeah.
Rescue squad, that's right.
He left the insurance business and was focusing on his other work. So I think,
A clothing business or something.
yeah. And so, you know, if we look at what committees both of those members were on, we can then perhaps discuss with Michael and perhaps the new board member if he's recommended and selected.
Kenny was on loan.
Yeah.
Anand,
He was chairman on
Kenny was chairman.
You know, in the past, Bob Sherwood was the chair of the loan committee when he was a banker. We've had bankers on these committees before, which has been helpful. Obviously, if they're also doing business with that particular client, they have to recuse themselves. But in a small town, there are a lot of times when board members,
Well, it's a big problem with Bank of Greene County because
they do so much.
was it, I'm blanking this morning, the last
How many,
person,
how many are on the loan committee, do you
Right.
know?
he
He couldn't come to the
he
meeting.
couldn't come to the meeting, so it's really, that's problematical for,
Yeah.
um,
So I think, why don't we, with
I'll
the
look at it.
transition of 2 people rolling off and hopefully 2 people finding 2 more members, that we take a look at the entire committee structure and see where there might be opportunities for people to match their interests and at the same time ensure we have adequate members on each of the committees to continue to move forward.
Okay,
And we'll report to the full board on that as a discussion point at the meeting at
we
the end of the
won't be
month.
together for a while, so.
And so is Michael the only one
Yeah.
not on a committee right now?
Believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nod was the other one who was never assigned a committee.
Who
right.
was it?
And Nod.
Yeah, I think so.
He's-
My only concern with putting
Justin?
Justin on the loan committee is how big is that committee? How many people on it? I wouldn't want to get in a situation
lost
where
Ken.
him not being able
I think
to
it was-
vote would impact
Four, yeah, 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
Now, the bylaws allow us to put someone on that committee who's not a member of the board. That's the
Right.
only committee that allows for that. And we made that bylaw amendment at the time when it was difficult to get people I think part of the difficulty was having the meetings at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. As opposed to the morning. meeting committee.
That's easier.
Oh.
Should we-
Public meeting.
Yeah.
People come in.
Come on in.
Executive session.
No, well, let's finish this conversation and
Okay.
okay, go out. Yeah. So we're just discussing committees. So give you some background so that you can decide if you're selected to what committees you like. So I think, again, there is an opportunity to add someone to the loan committee.
And it also meets every month.
Right.
But lately the attendance has been great. Everybody
Yeah.
comes and it's a really interesting committee.
So,
Maybe if we added them both to the committee, if one had to recuse themselves.
yeah, I think,
That would be
Yeah.
better.
and I think that the math, we have to watch the math on that because, to get if you have, the more you have, the more you need for quorum.
Yeah.
So, but, if you have 3 people, you only need 2, but, and we don't want to go there because, I do think that you want to have a broader group than 3 when you have 17 board members.
We're actually talking about you.
No.
And workforce has changed now too, because it's not meeting very often and it's sort of
Right.
the whole.
I think, I think what the plan there was that we would meet quarterly. And, I think that it was just that because of the quarter being the June meeting, we really weren't ready. At the same time, I think some of the suggestions from some of the committee members were to meet if we had the need to meet. And it might make sense, to meet, not necessarily at the end of the quarter, but August, because September is when the school year starts. We might want to look at which, not just automatically say March, June, September, and
Right.
December.
Yeah.
Stagger it better.
Might stagger it. And then that would help because also it's important, I think, that the finance committee meet at the month after the quarter. So, July. So when we have quarterly board meetings, they're not necessarily, the first of the quarter or the last of the quarter, they're the month after the quarter, so you can review what's happened within that reporting period. So why don't Jessica and Lisa and I look at that and we can report back to the full board.
Okay. Now I make a motion to go in executive session,
Someone.
discuss personnel.
In accordance with, I think, section F, but Lisa can make sure we have the right.
Yeah, I need a motion in a second.
1 second. I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're back in session. I think there's no question that he'd be an asset for our board. Anybody's have any other opinions on that? So, yeah, we'll take a vote now, and then it goes to the full board next meeting, so,
Motion to recommend.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to recommend Justin to the full board.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. One thing about new members I noticed in a panic last night is that in our group 1 that's on the back page here, that these terms expire and have just expired. And we have not addressed that. So I would think we want to ask all of these people if they want to renew, come back, but it looks like Cummings is
He's the only one, though, right?
is he now finished his 6 years, Lisa? Is that-
So, wow.
No.
He's getting elected for a second term.
Okay.
And the double star are completing their first, this will be their first 3-year term after filling a vacancy, correct, Lisa?
Okay, so
So
there's,
those elected in 2023 serve till 2026.
okay,
Now, who did we vote on at the annual meeting?
Mike Johnson.
Yeah,
He was new, but it's the group one,
Okay,
because I just didn't change this.
I
right.
was sitting with Rick, so I said, oh, you're in again.
Yeah, I think we re-elected. They've been re-elected
At the board.
At the.
at the board meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So we,
no, I know.
Yeah.
But
so they're currently, their term expires in 26. But we can update this?
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, that makes
No,
more
but it's
sense.
good to see. I mean, it's good to see. Right now in May to know we did it. So.
right.
Now, the other interesting thing is that the way the bylaws work is if you get to the end of your 2 3-year terms, plus whatever vacancy you may have filled if you were elected to fill a vacancy initially, if you become an officer, you're exempt from, you can stay longer.
Why are you looking at me?
You have a lifetime membership.
Lest there be any thought.
But, so, if you got to a point where there was someone who was rolling off and wanted to stay an extra year or two, there's a way of, or if the board wanted to have them stay a year or two, we can always create a second vice president.
So we would put Justin in group one, because that's just starting a new term.
You'd fill that vacancy, Lisa?
yeah, there's a vacancy there. and
There's also
Three.
one in group three. But this would give him the longest term to put him into group one. And now we got,
The other issue that we're going to have to address is Anita.
right,
Both on attendance and the fact that she's no longer working or living in Columbia County. And as much as I think she has been contributed to dialogue with staff and at the board, I just don't know how we, so I think we're gonna have to have a conversation with her.
yeah, I thought I'd go down and try to meet
Yeah,
with her in person. I also noticed she's been on Zoom a couple of times. I think that's one problem we need to address, is when at least acknowledge that somebody's here on Zoom, because we'll
well,
be halfway through the meeting and then not know that she's on. That's not a
There was a
legal.
discussion back
well, and
earlier, 'cause they
she can't
vote.
participate, she can
Correct.
watch and we could, she can speak because you let the public speak, but you
Right.
can't vote.
Right,
You can't be counted for the quorum or vote on Zoom unless you meet some very specific requirements.
exactly. I will go talk to her, and we do need a couple,
So we need 2 more
Two
people.
more
based on
people.
Yeah,
that.
well,
because it was already.
so Justin fills Kenny, Brian Stickles' slot.
No,
So
we
is that-
filled Brian's.
No,
with-
That's right, we did. So he would fill Kenny's
Well, you have
Not-
Ken,
or not.
Ahmad,
So when,
and now Anita. So we have 3
Right.
and
so
he can fill one of the 3.
so his 2 3-year terms don't even start.
Right.
Right.
And I think we need to talk to Derek again too, because he's not really able to come.
And why don't we also provide you with a list, and we can provide this outside of today rather than at the
Right.
next meeting, so you can start thinking about people. But where we list the nature of their business and their geographic location. So, I know that, we've got Joe Benson, who, works up in New Lebanon.
Yeah, I think we
We,
have that.
We have that chart
Yeah.
exists, but we'll update
You
it.
mean in hopes to cover,
So not everyone's from Hudson, or not
Yeah, yeah,
everyone's from
okay,
Claverick, or not
okay.
everyone, just I don't know that we,
There was also the industry they were in.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, I know we were very happy to have you as a business owner, because we were getting to the point where we weren't having anyone that owned a business.
Yeah.
And I think we were very happy to also have Brian with his CPA background. And now they have a banker. I think over time, I was encouraged by some members of the organization and us business partners that we need more people who have signed the front of the check, not the back of the check. But, you know, at the same time, you know, we have representatives from the arts and cultural community with Sean and, you know, I think.
And Ruth.
And Ruth. And so
Yeah, we have a good,
pretty good mix.
diverse mix here,
But,
but
But it would be helpful to see that type of chart when thinking of new members that you might ask in your life
Yeah.
to join. Someone might pop up if you saw.
yeah.
yeah,
And we added that to our list of loans when we report to the Board of Supervisors, so that, again, they see that we're working throughout the county. And on also, if we end up seeing ourselves getting a concentration too heavily in one area, knowing that there are public perceptions of that, we can go out and run a special and get.
I've also asked Martha to keep her eye open with people that have the loans, and Steve too.
And our membership list, that's where we should start, right?
To look at,
People that already
Yeah.
So we'll get those things together in a packet and circulate them to all of you so that, you know, we can have a informed discussion at the board meeting.
the whole board.
Yeah.
Send it out to, okay. Employee handbook update.
Jessica, do you want to come on up? And as you know, there's continual new mandates, legislation, Labor Department, federal and state regulations that affect and we hadn't updated the handbook in 2 years. So Jessica and I met with Elena DeFeo-Keen, our HR attorney, and we went through the handbook and went had several conversations with her. You know, she has added a number of current statutory and regulatory updates. And I know that you know, the areas that were confusing to us were the areas where what was the interplay between PTO, family leave, and you have the two. So where they were overlapping, because we also have this policy that if you're out for 30 days, we cover you your salary. And so if we didn't want a situation where if the government was willing to pay for that, that you know, what was the prioritization of using those, the FMLA and the, I forget the other terminology, but you know, so that we weren't putting our money up first if we didn't have to. If you take an example, you'll remember 2 or 3 years ago when Ed Steffler got injured at a hunting where he fell out of a hunting stand. He was out of work for a month, but our policy provided that we would pay the first 30, you know, not first 30 work days, or 20 work days, 30 days of calendar days. And you know, I think, and then we also looked at the holidays. Steve brought up, you know, the fact that so I checked with the county, and the county has made June 19th now a official holiday for the county. You know, Steve had also suggested Good Friday, but I think that really has to be a personal day because you can't,
Yeah.
there are too many religious holidays to enable everyone to have those opportunities. And I think that were there other cleanups, Jessica, that we do have to look at the health insurance because, and we can look at that one more time with Elena. Until Chris arrived, we never had anyone that required health insurance that we provide. Everyone opted for the waiver and the buyout because they had availability of health insurance through a spouse. And so Chris gave us the opportunity to test out getting a policy with CDPHP, setting up a health savings account for him. And, you know, and right now we have it where the buyout or the waiver here has historically been significantly higher than what you would see in government or the private sector. Right now, the full health insurance is between $8,000 and $10,000 a year for the individual, and we're paying $6,500 on the waiver. I'm involved in a not-for-profit board where it's $1,500 for the waiver, and the health insurance is still. I'm not suggesting we change the waiver, and we do increase the waiver 3 to 5% every year since I've been here to keep up with whatever cost the employee is. Because in some of the instances where the employee is getting it through a spouse, they're paying for it. It's not where their business or government entity is carrying it 100%. So, you know, we are looking at that, and we do increase that every year. So, you know, we went back and we looked at what we were doing with health insurance, and, you know, basically, you know, it's not been a dollar for dollar match for the waiver, but we weren't really focused on that because we had nobody that was getting health insurance through the company. I know we circulated this to everybody on the team, and I think Steve was the only one that got back to us. If anybody has questions, this is still, you know, there's still ability to adjust this because it hasn't gotten to the full board. If any of the committee members want to take a closer look at this based on this discussion, we can have that conversation at the full board before it's approved.
Yeah, and that is a very generous waiver. I noticed also for the holidays, because it added Juneteenth.
We looked at what you could take away because, you know, with 10 holidays and everyone now, we did move up to where everyone is entitled to 4 weeks vacation because you can't hire someone. You have to earn it. And if you, you know, if you leave it mid-year, you don't get bought out of the days that you have, the 10 holidays. But with 20 days off and 10 holidays, you're only working 46 weeks a year. And when you divide 46 weeks into salaries, it really drives up the overall cost per hour. And so, and we did.
We always had that at 4 weeks vacation.
You used to get 1 week if you were here for 2 years, and 2 weeks if you were here for 5 years, and you can't hire people that way anymore because if they've been anywhere for any length of time, they've earned. They've gotten themselves up to here, and they're not going to come here if you give them 1 week's vacation. So we felt that, and what was happening was everyone that was coming in new was negotiating for that. So we didn't want to put someone who didn't know enough to negotiate it to be at a disadvantage.
Right.
And that way, and then I think initially everyone who worked here had worked here more than 5 or 7 years it took to get 4 weeks of vacation. So, you know, we did do away 2 years ago. There was a kind of a, I guess they do it at the county or the city. I know that they do it. I'm not sure about the county, but they had a policy where if you didn't use your vacation, we bought back 50% of it. There are 2 employees who are grandfathered with that, and we modified that now you can carry 5 days forward. You know, you don't want people to, you want people to take their vacation. I mean, I've worked places where you had to take 5 days consecutive out of the days so that at least you had a full week off rather than, you know, you never have you take just so that, you know, you're refreshed. And it's not like a bank where you have to take 2 full weeks off and you can't touch the computer so that you can see if there's any irregularities. But, you know, I think it's progressive where we are, but I think it's realistic in, you know, the current employment environment and what people would be able to get if they were decided to look elsewhere.
Yeah, just back to holidays for a minute. I know, we could put in there that we follow the counties. because
Well, we
I was on all those negotiations with,
Yeah, we had, when we looked at the county, I mean, the sheriffs get more holidays because they're, the union employees of the county get more holidays than the management employees. We're following the management employee
Yeah.
holiday. Because,
that they come in with another national one like the Juneteenth.
well, then I think you have to look at, do you make a floating holiday between Columbus Day and
Right.
that holiday? I don't think you want to do that with Juneteenth. But I think that, and then, you know, a lot of places don't give you off New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve. But again, most people take that off and they would have to use PTO, but, you know, I do think that, I think we're on the high end of holidays, but I wouldn't want to take any away.
No, that's it.
But I think that you don't want to, you really can't add more because,
Yeah.
you know, when you think about it,
No.
you're sick, you have 6 weeks off when you add the holidays.
Yeah.
The confusing thing for me in my own employment just is the paid family leave, cover it like that. I'm
It's
never
very-
sure.
We worked, that was the longest that we talked with Elaine. We went back and forth a bunch of
Yeah.
times to try and get clarity and said, no, take out the legal, no, it's right, like,
Yeah.
take out the legal mumbo jumbo and put it in like basic language
Yeah.
so that, one, if there was ever a need, the basic employee would understand how to use
Because
it.
you want to be ready for those situations
Right.
and be clear on it, but
Right.
My wife had her knee replaced and my daughter works for a division of United Healthcare. And she came up for 2 weeks and to take care of her mother. And they had, because of the size of their company and how it's managed, nobody blinked. I would have, what the hell? Your mother's 55 years old and has a knee replaced, you know, I mean, but they were entitled to it and they're used to it. And they have enough staff to be able to backfill or cover for somebody
But
that,
it's getting, if it's getting covered for your business versus you're covering it,
Yeah,
it
why
is
should-
great to have
yeah.
the clarity, but it's such a new,
And the employees are paying for.
they're already paying for it,
They're paying, you
like
know,
unemployment.
it's a small dollar amount relative to what they're getting, but the pool is there. And, you know, we didn't want a situation where you could get both. And, or that, because then if we could match it up, they could get longer, they get paid longer. Because, you know, we did find out that, you know, if you only have disability, you get about half of your take-home pay on disability. And, you know, which is about 35% of your gross. And then, you know, a week to wait. So I think we also have a 5% retirement benefit. We now pay that twice a year so that you have the benefit of not waiting for the, you can dollar cost average, how you invest that, and it's self-directed by the employee. It is only available after 1 year of employment. And, you know, so I think, you know, most private sector businesses are, you know, I always had 2%, and if you put 2% in, I match 2%. So it was a 4% plan, just to encourage people to do it. And, you know, we do have a chart that each year when we review compensation, which we have done at least every year since I've been here. I know there was a period of time before that where it wasn't done every year. We have a chart that shows, you know, what the value of the benefits are to the employee, as well as what the added cost to the company is for the payroll tax. And so, you know, I do, and that's, you know, really why being able to do that when we do the budget and the budget variance, I think the area that we're closest on budget is the payroll expense, because we really have some tools that we've developed to really calculate out what that costs. We did get an increase in unemployment because everybody got an increase because we're all paying for the fact that New York owes the Fed billions of dollars in unemployment, so our percentage did go up, but not because of any experience rating, only because of what everyone got tacked on.
Great work. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
What can come in? I feel like we were like, oh, let's do this. We were like, wow, let's get it done in a month. And
Yeah.
I think we feel like we've been talking about it since I started.
I think, and Elena's, yeah, so it's wonderful.
And we
so
would ask
knowledgeable
all
about
of
it.
you and each of the team members to go through it again. I mean, it's not intent, if there's something in there that, gets under somebody's, skin, let us know. I mean, it's a lot of it is what the lawyers sent us, and, if it didn't jump out at us where it might jump out at you, let us know about it. I mean, it's a guidebook. It's not intended to be
So we vote on it here and then just the.
recommended to the
board?
full board.
Okay. I have a motion to recommend.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We thought about giving it to you line to show changes, but with the way it just,
I couldn't read it.
I couldn't read it, it was just too much, because within a 2-year period, it's scary that government results in you having to totally modify them.
Yeah. One quick question about the charter again. I realize it says that that the chair should stay on for a year on the committee. And my term is ending, and it's like. It's like.
Anytime you want. Exactly.
We thought you'd be the only one that would come as a member of the public and sit over there and keep us on our toes, Sarah. I would hope, or watch from home.
Hopefully we have a good transition, so it's not necessary.
I don't know.
Anyhow, okay.
Pretty soon there'll be no one here who was there when they hired me. I'm getting nervous.
I think if there was a change during your term, then you would, but if you're no longer,
Yeah,
it's okay.
I think everybody's,
Let's elect the vice chair. So
I think all of our board members are knowledgeable and up to date. Contribute.
Yep.
So staffing
make it up.
update.
Staffing update, we have a great team. I think you saw the value of the depth of the people here at the annual meeting. And with the work that Steve is doing to help and strengthen the loan fund with Martha, and the work that Kat's doing, and Lisa and Riley, we're all in support of the reports that Martha and Chris and Jessica and I made. I think that, Steve has been great. He brings in candy once a week in a bowl that where you can see what this, I measure the stress levels by whether it's gone by Wednesday or Thursday, or still one left for me to take on Friday afternoon on the way home. Jessica has us lined up for Tuesday, every other week staff meetings beginning today. I think that I feel really confident in what we're doing. I am a little concerned about the volume of work. We're getting 2 to 3 new projects a week, whether it be housing or warehouse. Do you have warehouse space? And Martha's getting increased loan volume. We do have some really great news that Martha's going to share. We came back from the annual meeting. I wish it had only come the day before. We could have really gotten the crowd revved up, but tell them the good news with the SBA request for additional loan funding.
Yeah, we were approved for an additional $775,000, and we're just waiting for the closing. Close on that within the next 30 days.
Terrific.
And basically what that will do, right now, if you take the money available to lend, loans receivable in both funds, and the reserve account, we're at $3.4 million, and we'll be close to $4 million in total portfolio value when we get these funds. Now, we draw them down over time, but the key is that with that level of funding, I believe our grant funding will be sustained, because the grant funding really matches there's a corollary between how much grant money they give us, because you have to get those loans on the street and do the technical service. And from July 1 to June 30th of next year, we're going to get 230,000, 275. So, you know, with all the extra money we've been given, or we've entered, not given, all the extra money we've received from entering into service contracts with the county, you know, this really helps to make sure that, you know, our percentage of government funding versus private sector funding, you know, between membership and government loans and grants from the SBA, we're not totally funded by the county.
I think too, it's exciting to hear. So the director of SBA, Mark, had such a great relationship. He was at our annual meeting, and then he also came to the small business event that we had last week. So that shows a lot. I mean, his territory is 32 counties, but to be here 2 weeks in, you know,
Yeah.
in a row.
And Martha
Says a
and
lot.
Steve, maybe a brief update on your trip to Detroit, Steve?
This was the first training that they've offered in 5 years due to the pandemic, at least the in-person training. And I think those are really valuable because most of the knowledge we gain is in between the sessions when you're talking to other intermediaries in the room. This one was for the entire country. I think there were between 300 and 400 people there. And it really was a bit of a nuts and bolts. That's what they used to call basic training because there's been so much turnover in the last 3 years. They didn't do breakout sessions, which I missed, but they covered the basics. I think it was really valuable for somebody that's come in the last year or so, because there is a lot to know about the microloan program. And as the national director said, there is no microloan university. You just, it's learning, you know, learn by doing to a certain extent.
And because they scheduled that conference in Detroit at the same time that the upstate New York SBA region scheduled their annual award ceremony, I got to go to that. And we did get a shout out at that from BJ, who's the upstate regional director.
Right.
And the regional director for the SBA for New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. That's why those Region 2 government districts are always popular in the political appointment circuit, was here, and she was very interested in what we're doing. I had 5 or 7 minutes with her, and it was a great program. And you know, I just think that we have to continue to market the fact that that's one of the things we do, so that we're not just perceived as a cheerleader. And then Chris's work on housing. Chris, quick update on where you are.
Yeah, and this is an update that we'll, excuse me, go around to all town supervisors this week. So as you know, we've got the committees, which I talked about. We really kind of focused on the outreach piece. We're still running into kind of a misperception about who we talk about when we talk about respect by housing, but also what kinds of housing we talk about when we talk about housing. So we're creating these profiles of people that actually live in the area or want to live in the area, can't. So these are real people, real information. And it's, you know, these people are degree holders or professionals. So this isn't your typical, I guess, conception of what people think of for housing. And we're also gathering a portfolio of buildings that currently exist in towns that are apartment buildings. So these are, a lot of these used to be single family homes, and now they're 3+ units. So they already exist. That's kind of the scale that we talk about when we talk about housing. I think a lot of people have this idea of the giant box of 8 units, right? That's kind of what gets built because that's what gets financed these days. So we're not talking about that. We're also looking at some policy interventions at the local, county, and state levels. And then we're looking at some, really taking a deep look at some financing models. So if we do find a parcel that can be developed, what are the break points for getting it financed? And then just on the kind of colloquial side, I had a 20-minute conversation with Pat Dunn, who runs Pedrota. She wanted to thank CEDC for her ability to open that business cancer in Hudson. She said without CEDC's help, she wouldn't have been able to do either.
Yes. Did you get that like in writing? Put it on the website or something? Sign off. on
How about, did she follow up with a free drink or what?
Let me take one.
It's under $75, so you can accept it.
Yeah, Pedrota just barely.
So things are really going well, and we appreciate the board support. And I want to thank Riley. She did all of the design and layout for the annual report, which the first year we did it cost us $2,000. So it got easier because using the same template, but we're able to do it in-house. We've just set up a new Survey Monkey gadget, I call it, where we can enter into Survey Monkey, so you can download it into an Excel and up into MailChimp. Any contact we get, so if somebody calls, you can put all their stuff right in, and because we are a little bit backlogged on making sure everyone's on our mailing list. And we got a lot of good feedback from Dr. Urchel's presentation. We do have the video online, and we also have her PowerPoint. We've had several inquiries from people who weren't able to attend. And I think that it really went well. Lisa's got all of the stuff done with Paris, and Kat's all caught up on the bookkeeping. And we're can't think of it. Does anyone have any other observations or comments? Great.
All good.
So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, other business, public comment? We have any public comment?
Well, Chris gave the public comment on behalf of a client.
Right.
Because I don't think they get up that early. In that business.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you all.